Slimes in Minecraft, probably one of the most standard and recognizable mobs in the game, right after something like a creeper. They were added a long time ago and left their mark in players' memories as a jumping entity, dwelling in caves or swamps. But despite being introduced to the game 15 years ago, I doubt any of you have wondered how they even appeared in the game. Why do they appear in swamps at night and only during a full moon? How did the fire slimes come to be, and what do they do in the world of Minecraft? Sit back, relax, I'm Makus, and we're diving into Minecraft theories. We should probably start with the history of slimes being added, because it's a mob that only has one model, a simple symmetrical cube. It was added so long ago that it is the 5th hostile mob in the entire game. Moreover, slimes were also added in a secret update released under Notch's leadership back when he was the main developer of Minecraft. Slimes remain one of the least developed mobs in the game. In other words, it can be said that even the developers seem to have forgotten about them. Its texture has only been updated slightly and its AI has remained since 2010. However, they do have their own special features. These include a high jump, especially for magma slimes, and the ability to divide into smaller versions, which makes them one of the unique mobs in the game capable of doing that. Another unique feature is the slime ball, which drops only from slimes. Without this item, mechanisms and traps would be impossible. This slime ball exists solely thanks to these creatures. Their strange appearance in swamps only during a full moon raises many questions, and you can't help but wonder, why is it like this in Minecraft? The answer to all these questions can be found through the theory of the history of slimes, how they moved to the Nether, what happened to them, why they became darker and completely fire-resistant, how a fire slime ball turns into a potion of fire resistance, and how all of this is related to piglins. As you can see, even a long-forgotten mob can have its own mysteries, and its history goes deep into Minecraft's past. Let's start with its appearance. Originally, slimes didn't spawn in swamps. That was added later. When slimes were introduced, there wasn't even a swamp biome, and they were initially planned for the jungle. However, slimes started spawning in caves and mines. In modern Minecraft, there are certain chunks, conditional boundaries that can be toggled with the F3 plus G keys. These chunks are very rare, but you can still find them underground. In some of these chunks, slimes spawn in large numbers, making swamps a much more interesting habitat. Why do slimes need all this? And what happens during a full moon? What makes them come to the surface? From a technical standpoint, this was done to prevent slimes from spawning too frequently. After all, the material that drops from them is quite rare. Theoretically, this can be explained by the fact that slimes, like all creatures in the Minecraft world, need to eat something to survive. Zombies hunt villagers because of their eternal hunger. Phantoms fly at night because they feed on the player's insomnia. And slimes constantly dwell in mines, where, as you know, there isn't much to eat. But then the question arises, if there is no food for slimes in the mines, why do they only come out during a full moon? Why can't they be found just like that? As we know, during a full moon, the outdoors are quite bright, as the light reflects off the moon and falls onto the ground. They don't like daylight, they prefer to live in darkness and only come out rarely, only at night. And in order to see well, to find something to feed on, they need not strong but still some light from the moon, which is especially good during a full moon. This is supported by the fact that the closer the moon is to full, the more and more often slimes appear. During a full moon, there are the most of them, as they get enough light, and during an eclipse, they don't appear. During an eclipse, you are unlikely to meet slimes in the swamp. The next question, why is their habitat after caves, specifically the swamp? This can be answered by what I said earlier. First, the swamp is always damp, and it provides ideal conditions for slimes. Second, there is something to eat, starting from regular grass and flowers, to mushrooms and even edible fungi. One of the most interesting questions concerns slime division. How is it that we seem to have killed it, but it is still alive? And then it's split into two, and then multiplied again. It's all about their structure, or what they are made of. Gel or slime mass is such a material that allows them to reproduce by division. In fact, this material can do a lot. For example, thanks to it, a slime can jump, since slime has a spring-like effect. And due to external conditions, slimes can deal damage to the character. By the way, when a slime hits the player, it's not just damage, because when the character is hit by their own block, they don't take damage at all. The slime seems to absorb the player and deal damage, possibly even dissolving them in itself. This can be confirmed with 100% certainty. Notice how a zombie deals damage regardless of whether you're far from it or push it with your body. It deals damage every half second because after the hit, it needs a moment to prepare its arm for a new strike. Now, look at how a slime attacks. Almost instantly, with no reload. If you stand right next to it and don't push it away, it will kill the player in seconds. You could say that despite the fact that a slime is a mob, it attacks the player not like a mob, but like regular lava. The character is absorbed and also takes damage. If you stand close to a slime and put up a shield, it will dissolve within seconds, and undoubtedly this can also be used as evidence to support the theory. Meanwhile, the story of the lava slimes developed separately from the rest of the world, and it is directly connected to the piglin race. I can even confidently say that the piglins themselves were involved in the creation of lava cubes, partly for themselves, although this happened more by accident. And no, I won't say that piglins are great inventors who crafted themselves a jumping slime robot. In fact, it should be assumed that the magma slime is the same ordinary slime that was transferred to the Nether, long before our player visited the depths of the Netherworld. The portal to the Nether was only opened by piglins before that, which leads to a logical conclusion. Surely you're wondering, why did they do it? It's simple. You probably remember that the piglins moved to the Nether a long time ago. This is what the ruins of the portal in the normal world and the bastions in the Nether, where piglins now reside, can tell us. So, when they moved to the Nether, they had to protect themselves, primarily from the hot climate, and of course, from the lava. By the way, a regular piglin burns in lava, but here, as I understand it, they came up with the idea of bringing slimes to the Nether in order to brew fire resistance potions. I know it sounds improbable, but I have some evidence. The first, and probably the most decisive piece of evidence, is that piglins themselves brew fire resistance potions, and you can even buy a bottle of this elixir from them. Secondly, they sell magma blobs that drop from the magma slimes. Everything hints that slimes were used to brew potions. The piglins' idea is also quite clever. Bringing a mob from the overworld into the Nether and using it to achieve their goals is a very good plan. But what has happened to slimes over all this time? Why have they become darker? And why do they no longer have transparent textures? The Nether, as far as we know, is quite hot, and the material that slimes are made of is adapted to damp environments where water is present, such as swamps. But in the Nether, the conditions are not right, and slimes had no choice but to evolve and adapt to the environment. Their outer layer became solid, and now it is not transparent. The interior of the slime can only be seen when it jumps and splits into layers. By the way, an interesting fact: the magma slime is so hot that its core is real lava. The question arises, if the regular slime deals damage to the player by absorbing, then how does the magma slime fight with our character? The answer is simple. I already mentioned that it has hardened almost to a stone-like state. So imagine when it jumps on the player, a huge block of heated rock lands on our character. Close combat without jumping can also be explained by the fact that it is actually heated, and the player, being up close to it, takes damage from the high temperature of the slime itself. And here remains one of the final questions, which to answer, one must dig into Minecraft's history. Why do they attack the player immediately? What did we do to them? For that, let's head to the jungle and look at the temple, or more specifically, the trap with a secret chest. The traps are set up skillfully and connected with redstone circuits, which suggests that the temple was built by intelligent beings, specifically those who were here before our character. From this, we can conclude that long before we arrived, the people who lived here sometimes killed slimes to gather materials for mechanisms. Since then, slimes have kept, on an instinctive level, the thought that if they see the player, they must definitely kill them. With that, my theory comes to an end. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the channel, as there is plenty of interesting content about Minecraft here. Well, I'm saying goodbye. Makis was with you. Good luck to all. Bye-bye to all.